Pietro de Cortona. B. Cortona, 1596, di Rome, 1669. Painter, architect, and designer, Cortona ranks second only to Bernini as the most versatile genius of Italian Baroque art. Like Bernini, he spent most of his career in Rome, but he also carried out major works in Florence. As a painter, he specialized in grandiose fresco decoration in palatial interiors. His most famous works in this vein were produced for the Barberini family in Rome. Its members included Pope Urban VII, and for the ruling Medici family in Florence. He often combined his frescoes with elaborate stucco ornamentation, creating a highly sumptuous effect. Such treatment was much imitated, for example at Louis XIV's palace at Versailles. In addition to his large-scale decorative schemes, Cortona produced many smaller paintings, mainly on religious and mythological subjects, and designed tapestries and festival decorations. He was also one of the greatest architects of his time, even though he claimed that architecture was merely a recreation for him. Lifeline. 1596, born the son of a stonemason and builder, c. 1612 arrives in Rome. 1624–26 receives his first major commission, to paint frescoes in the Church of S. Bibbiena for Pope Urban VIII. 1633–9 paints Allegory of Divine Providence and Barberini Power. 1640–47 works mainly in Florence, decorating the Palazzo Pitti. 1647 returns to Rome. 1669 dies and is buried in his Church of SS. Luca e Martina, Rome. SS. Luca e Martina. This is Cortona's architectural masterpiece, the first church to be designed and built in a unified Baroque styles throughout. 1635–50, the Forum, Rome, Italy. Allegory of Divine Providence and Barberini's Power. Cortona's most famous work as a painter glorifies Pope Urban VIII and his aristocratic Barberini family. 1633–39, fresco, approximate 25 x 15 m, Grand Salone, Palazzo Barberini, Rome, Italy. Sala di Apollo, detail, 7 He combination of painted image and elaborate stucco work in ceilings such as this was highly influential. 1640s, fresco, Palazzo Pitti, Florence, Italy. Romulus and Remus given shelter by Faustulus. Expressive gestures, rich colors, and majestic figures are characteristic elements of Cortona's painting. c. 1643, oil on canvas, 2.5 x 2.6 m, Louvre, Paris, France. Allegory of Divine Providence and Barberini's Power. Cortona's most famous work as a painter glorifies Pope Urban VIII and his aristocratic Barberini family. 1633–39, fresco, approximate 25 x 15 m, Grand Salone, Palazzo Barberini, Rome, Italy. Closer look. The art of illusion. The figure representing Divine Providence is backlit with a blinding glow and points towards the Barberini family emblem of 3 bees. Like the other figures, Providence is expertly foreshortened to give the feeling of a dizzying view from below. Spectators are pulled up towards this focal point, and the ceiling seems to open to the sky. Salvator Rosa. Biarinella, 1615, di Rome, 1673. A poet and actor as well as a painter and printmaker, Salvator Rosa was a colorful character who did a great deal to create the popular romantic image of the artist as a rebel and outsider. He trained in Naples and spent most of the 1640s in Florence, but otherwise he worked mainly in Rome. Although he regarded his historical and religious pictures as his most important works, Rosa is now best known for his landscapes, in which he created a new type of image of nature, wild and raw, that contrasted with the serene, ideal landscapes of Claude and Poussin. In a similar vein, he also painted macabre subjects, including scenes of witchcraft. Lifeline. 1615, born in Arenella, on the outskirts of Naples. 1635 moves to Rome. 1640–49 works in Florence after causing a scandal in Rome by insulting Bernini. 1649 returns to Rome. 1673 dies, after a deathbed marriage to his mistress. Democritus in Meditation. Rosa was an accomplished etcher who made prints such as this, reproducing his paintings. c. 1662, etching, 46 by 27 centimeters, Leeds City Art Gallery, Leeds, UK. rocky landscape with a huntsman and warriors showing humans dwarfed by a threatening and untamed nature. This picture exemplifies the wild, romantic strain in Rosa's work. 1660s, oil on canvas, 142 x 192 centimeters, Louvre, Paris, France. Closer look. Rocks and crags. Well known for using large rocks and crags as prominent features in his landscapes, Rosa was expert at rendering their rough surfaces with vigorous brushwork. This was part of his way of stressing nature's wild, elemental forces. Notes of drama. The eye goes quickly to the tiny figures, despite the expanse of turbulent landscape around them. Although painted sketchily, they are picked out deftly with patches of bright color against highlights in the dramatic sky above. Carlo Dolci. B. Florence, 1616. D. Florence, 1687. Dolci was one of the leading artists of his time in Florence. Deeply devout, he specialized in religious works, which included some large altarpieces. He is best known for small, intimate works for private devotion. These were highly popular in his lifetime and for many years afterward, but then fell out of favor, being dismissed as cloyingly sentimental. The past half-century has seen renewed interest in his work, especially his beautifully polished craftsmanship. Dolci also painted portraits, but these are strong and sober, very different from his religious works above. Virgin and Child with the infant Saint John the Baptist. His sweet sentiment and smooth finish are typical of Dolci's style. C. 1635, oil on panel, diameter 79 centimeters, Museum of Fine Arts, Houston, TXs, US. Bernardo Strozzi. B. Genoa, 1581, D. Venice, 1644. Strozzi's two nicknames, Tu Cappuccino, the Capuchin, and Tu Prete Genovese, the Genoese priest, reflect his years as a Capuchin monk in a Genoese monastery, 1598 to 1610. He had trained as a painter before entering the monastery, and may have painted devotional works while inside its walls. Strozzi left the monastery in 1610 to support his widowed mother and his sister. After his mother died, the monastery pressurized him to return, but he moved to Venice in 1630-31, becoming one of the leading painters in the city. As befits a monk, he painted mainly religious works, but he also produced portraits, allegories, and genre scenes. His style shows many influences, including that of Rubens, who worked in Genoa, but it has a distinctive richness and warmth. Alexander the Great restoring the throne usurped from Abdelaziz. This obscure story from Greek history inspired several operas, including Mozart Turi Pastor, 1775. C. 1615-17, oil on canvas, 123 by 175 centimeters, Tokyo Fuji Art Museum, Tokyo, Japan. Giovanni Battista Gaulli. B. Genoa, 1639, D. Rome, 1709. Gaulli, who is also known as Basiccio, a dialect form of his Christian names, spent most of his career in Rome, where he was a protege of Bernini. His most famous work is the Adoration of the Name of Jesus, a glorious ceiling fresco in the Geste, the mother church of the Jesuits, in Rome. In its energy, virtuosity, and spiritual conviction, this is one of the archetypal Baroque works. Gaulli also produced many smaller religious paintings and was a fine portraitist. His sitters included 7 popes. Lifeline. 1639 born in Genoa, c. 1657 settles in Rome, 1674-77 Adoration of the Name of Jesus, c. 1675 paints portrait of Bernini, 1709 dies in Rome. The Three Marys at the Empty Sepulchre here, rich Genoese colors shine through. 1684-85, oil and canvas, 87 by 113 centimeters, Fitzwilliam Museum, Cambridge, UK. Luca Giordano. B. Naples, 1634, D. Naples, 1705. Although he began his career working in the somber tradition of Caravaggio, Luca Giordano developed a light, airy style that heralds the Rococo. He was the most prolific decorative painter of his time, so renowned for his speed and energy that he was nicknamed Luca fa Presto, Luke worked quickly. His life began and ended in Naples, but he also did a good deal of work in Florence and Venice, and he spent a decade in Spain, mainly in the employ of King Charles II. Initially he worked at the Escorial, the huge monastery, palace near Madrid, and then on other royal and church commissions. When he returned to Naples he was approaching 70, but he continued working with vigor and passion. Lifeline. 634 born in Naples, the son of painter Antonio Giordano, 1653 first dated works, 1658 marries. 1665 begins period of extensive travels, spending much of it working in Florence and Venice. 1692 goes to Spain to work for King Charles I, 1702 returns to Naples, 1705 dies in Naples a wealthy, famous, and respected man. Celestial glory and the triumph of the Habsburgs. This fresco adorns the ceiling. Over the Escorial's imperial staircase. Giordano created such works with extraordinary fluency. 1692–94, fresco, I Escorial, Spain. Andrea Pozzo. B. Trento, 1642, D. Vienna, 1709. Andrea Pozzo is a perfect example of religious faith wedded to art. A painter and architect, he became a lay brother in the Roman Catholic Jesuit order in his 20s. After this, he completed numerous projects for Jesuit churches, especially in and around Rome. His masterpiece is the Glory of St. Ignatius Loyola and the missionary work of the Jesuits in the Church of S. Ignazio, Rome, one of the most breathtaking ceiling paintings ever created. It shows the formidable skill with perspective that lay at the heart of Pozzo's work. In 1703 Pozzo moved to Vienna, where he spent the rest of his life, mainly engaged on Jesuit projects. He wrote a major treatise on perspective, which was published in Latin and Italian in 2 volumes in 1693 and 1700 and was soon translated into other languages. Lifeline. 1642 born in Trento, where he receives his initial training, 1665 becomes a Jesuit lay brother. 1681 settles in Rome, 1688–94 paints ceiling of S. Ignazio, Rome, 1693 and 1700 writes the 2-volume treatise, Perspective in Painting and Architecture, 1703 moves to Vienna, 1709 dies in Vienna, is buried in the Jesuit church. Guardian angel. Even in this relatively small work, Pozzo manages to convey a vigorous sense of movement typical of Baroque art. C. 1685–94, oil and canvas, 173 by 122 centimeters, Musée des Beaux-Arts, Cannes, France. Glory of St. Ignatius Loyola and the missionary work of the Jesuits. Here, the perspective scheme sweeps the viewer's eye up to the single vanishing point at the central figure of Christ. 1688–94, fresco, vault of nave, S. Ignazio, Rome, Italy. Closer look. Imaginary architecture. Pozzo was one of the greatest masters of quadratura, a type of decoration in which painted architecture seems like an extension of the real architecture of a building. An indicator on the floor of the Church of S. Ignazio shows the place to stand to get the most convincing effect. Adam Elsheimer. B. Frankfurt am Main, 1578, D. Rome, 1610. Although he died aged 32 and left only a small number of works, Elsheimer was a highly influential painter, inspiring artists of the caliber of Rubens, who was a friend, and Rembrandt to imitate his poetic lighting effects. As well as being brief, his life seems to have been unhappy, blighted by melancholia and debt. It was only after his death that his work began to be widely admired. Elsheimer spent most of his short career in Rome. Almost all his paintings are small, painted on copper with a miniaturist-like delicacy. However, they never seem fussy and have a grandeur of conception out of all proportion to their size. Most of them depict figures in a landscape setting, and he is particularly renowned for his sensitive treatment of nocturnal scenes. Lifeline. 1578, born the son of a tailor, 1598 travels to Venice, 1600 settles in Rome, 1606 marries, becomes a member of the Accademia ds. Luca, 1610 dies in poverty, and is buried in the Church of S. Lorenzo in Lucina, in Rome. The mocking of Ceres, the goddess Ceres, searching for her daughter Proserpina, thirstily gulps down a barley drink offered by an old woman. C1607, oil on copper, 30x25 centimeters, Prado, Madrid, Spain. Closer Ioc. Light effects. As the old lady stands outside her cottage at night, the flickering candle picks out parts of her lined face in a way that makes her seem rather sinister. Elsheimer seems to have experimented with lighting and compositional effects by using little wax figures that he arranged on a kind of miniature stage set. Surely, after such a loss, our entire profession ought to clothe itself in mourning. V will not easily succeed in replacing him. In my opinion, he had no equal in small figures, in landscapes, and in many other subjects. Peter Paul Rubens, 1610, on Elsheimer's death. Francois Duquesnoy. B. Brussels, 1597, D. Leghorn, 1643. The Flemish-born Duquesnoy came from a distinguished family of sculptors. After training in his father's studio in Brussels, he moved to Rome. There he rivaled Gaulli as the leading sculptor of the day, after the great Bernini. Duquesnoy's style is more classical and restrained than Bernini's, although it often displays warmth and charm, especially in his smaller pieces. He was renowned for his skill in representing children. In 1643, Duquesnoy was summoned to France to work for King Louis XIII, but he died on the way. Lifeline. 1597, born son of sculptor Jérôme Duquesnoy, with whom he trains. 1618, moves to Rome, where he initially works mainly on restoring antique sculpture. 1627-28, assists Bernini with Baldacchino in Peters. 1629-40, carves statue of Saint Andrew Forst Peters. 1643, Falls Island, dies at Livorno, Tuscany. Puto with a dolphin. Duquesnoy is especially well known for this kind of piece, featuring putty, cherubs, depicted in a charming way. 1625-30, Ivory, Galleria e Museo Estense, Medina, Italy. Saint Andrew. This was the most important public commission of Duquesnoy's career. It shows Saint Andrew with the X-shaped cross on which he was crucified. 1629-40, marble, 450 centimeters high, St. Peter's, Vatican City. Gerrit van Honthorst. Utrecht, 1592, Utrecht, 1656. The Dutch painter Honthorst was one of the best of the many foreign artists who were influenced by Caravaggio's work in the early 17th century. He spent roughly a decade in Rome, from about 1610, and earned the nickname Gerard del Notti, Gerard of the night scenes, because of his skill with nocturnal light effects, especially in scenes illuminated by candlelight. After his return to the Netherlands, he played a major role in establishing his hometown of Utrecht as a stronghold of Caravaggio's style. It lingered there into the 1650s, long after it had gone out of fashion in Rome. However, Honthorst himself abandoned the style in his later years, when he worked mainly as a portraitist. The freeing of St. Peter from prison. Honthorst clearly shows his debt to Caravaggio in the dramatic gestures and bold lighting. C. 1616-20, oil and canvas, 129 by 179 centimeters, Bode Museum, Berlin, Germany.